Going on a vacation is supposed to be a fun experience, but what if your hotel room, or even the entire hotel, deadens the excitement with fear or sadness? There are some places that have stories that need to be told. Some are horrific, and some are tragic and heartbreaking. But these stories all have one thing in common. They began with living, breathing people that in different ways came to an end. Sometimes these stories happen because of the circumstances within the building itself. Regardless, ghosts and spirits will linger if they have unfinished business, or they hang around because they may not even realize what they are. Hello there. Welcome. Thanks for joining me on another night filled with tales of terror. So tonight I'm going to share some stories about haunted hotels with you. Now, from all I know, most of these stories are based on true events. But there may be that one thrown in that is actually a work of fiction, but we'll find out. But before we get started, I just want to say hello. Hi, I'm Roberta Griffin, and I just want to say thank you for checking out my channel, Scary Girl Griffin. And on this channel, the stories that you'll hear are either factual, fictional, or somewhere in between. But I will always tell you at the end of each video just what it is that you heard. So, for now, get comfortable, click the like and subscribe buttons, turn down the lights, and let's begin. It was in 1924, the builder J.M. Nix and architect Ralph Cameron created what became known as the first skyscraper west of the Mississippi River. Designed in Gothic Revival architecture, the plan for the building was to be the city's first medical arts building. Adorned with gargoyles depicting a variety of medical ailments from a toothache to an upset stomach, the building was so large it accommodated nearly 100 doctors with office space and 400 people. The downstairs levels were offices for the doctors, the upper levels were designated for surgical use. The basement was where you could find the morgue. The decision to use the upper levels of the building for surgery space was due to the smell and not wanting it to linger. They were able to open the windows to release the stench. The hospital lasted for approximately 50 years before it was converted into an office building. 10 years later, in 1984, it was transformed into the Emily Morgan Hotel. Born in 1815, Emily was a free woman of color from New Haven, Connecticut. During the 19th century, however, it was customary for a woman of mixed race, such as Emily, to serve as an indentured servant for a period of 1 to 2 years before she could be fully free. In 1835, at the age of 20, Emily was contracted to be a housekeeper to a man named James Morgan. As it was customary, Emily took his surname. On April 16, 1836, Emily and some of her colleagues were kidnapped by the Mexican cavalry led by the legendary General Santa Anna. They were taken to a Mexican army campsite at Buffalo Bayou, now known as Houston, where the army was recharging after the legendary conquering of the Alamo close to 6 weeks before. They planned to fight Sam Houston's troops next. General Santa Anna had taken quite a fancy to Emily. On the day of the battle that would come to be known as the Battle at San Jacinto, Santa Anna had brought Emily to his tent for some entertainment. There was a lot of speculation as to how Emily entertained him, but by doing whatever it is she did for Santa Anna, it helped the Texans win their independence in a matter of 18 minutes. Emily made her way to New York in 1837 with the help of Major Isaac Moreland, commandant of the Texas military at Galveston. In 1997, the Emily Morgan Hotel underwent minor renovations, and from 2001 to 2002, major renovations were complete. The hotel now had 177 rooms and 24 suites. In 2012, a multi-million-dollar renovation took place, and the DoubleTree by the Hilton family took ownership of the Emily Morgan Hotel. Like so many buildings across the world, the Emily Morgan Hotel does not have a 13th floor. The floor number following the 12th floor is the 14th floor. To take things further, you'll find there is no room 1408. Perhaps it's because when added together, 1408 equals 13. This was all done to settle the nerves of any superstitious guests, of course. It's rumored that all the floors of the historic Emily Morgan Hotel are haunted, but if you want to know where the real action is, check out the 7th, 9th, 12th, and 14th floors, along with the basement. These floors were once the hospital's psychiatric ward, surgery level, waiting area, and morgue. Reports from guests that have stayed on these floors include the strange sensation of something cool brushing up against them and the heavy scent of medicine lingering in the hallway. The scent is even more pungent on the 14th floor. Guests staying on the 14th floor have reported opening the door of their hotel room and finding a ghostly scene of a hospital waiting room where the hallway should be. Freaked out, they shut their doors, and when they reopen them, the hospital waiting room is gone. The 12th floor was the operating level of the building. Here, you're most likely going to see and experience some of the paranormal. There have been reports of unexplainable noises, a sudden smell of alcohol, and being touched by unseen hands. Guests on this floor have watched their bathroom doors swing open and shut on their own. They've awakened in the dead of night to the sound of a faucet leaking, drip, 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 over and over, until they get out of bed and head over to the bathroom where they see the faucets are turned on full blast. If that's not strange enough, when they step into the bathroom, the water shuts off like nothing ever happened. Other guests have reported lights flashing in their rooms, while others report seeing apparitions of nurses in the hallway pushing squeaky gurneys down the corridor. I should tell you, it's said that the Emily Morgan swimming pool has been constructed out of the old hospital stainless steel operating tables. When you're on the 11th floor, you'll likely see an elderly woman dressed in a hospital gown walking along the hallway. She's been heard weeping, and she disappears into one of the rooms. Guests have awakened to the sound of a gurney being wheeled down the hallway, and when they open their doors to check, the hallway is empty. On the 9th floor, guests have reported their toilet seats banging up and down in the middle of the night. Also, there are reports of watching wine bottles slide off tables. Hearing commotion and sounds from an unoccupied room is also a frequent occurrence. The 7th floor is reportedly the most haunted floor in the entire 13-story building. Guests and staff have both reported seeing dark shapes of human figures walking around on this floor. They walk through walls and doors and simply disappear. There was a family staying in a room on the 7th floor that were all awakened when all the electricity turned on in their room. A dark shape glided through the room and through a wall right before their shocked eyes. There are reported sightings of a ghostly woman at the end of a long hallway. She will stare intensely into your eyes before turning a corner and disappearing. The staff can't decide if she's wearing a wedding gown or a hospital robe, but they all agree that she is a constant presence in the hotel. Many guests have been frightened awake by a female's unearthly shrieks in the dead of night, and when they call the front desk to inquire about the shrieks, the front desk attendants usually offer an apology and an assumption of the shrieks coming from a ghost. There's also been reports of apparitions walking through walls or standing right next to you while looking in a mirror. A guest staying on the 3rd floor was awakened one evening to the sound of humming. She sat up to see a young girl sitting at the foot of her bed. The girl asked her if she'd like to sing along. On the following night, the same guest was awakened, but this time by the sensation of someone in her bed pushing against her. She was able to see the impression of a body in her bed. On both occasions, she noticed a sudden drop in temperature. In the very same room, a woman and her son were both awakened to the sound of a woman singing. And if you're not having enough fun already, try hopping on an elevator. The elevators are notorious for riding up and down without anybody in them. When guests get in an elevator, they should plan on going for a ride because the elevator will bypass the floor you requested, and sometimes the elevator will decide it doesn't want to let you out, keeping its doors tightly shut for hours and locking you in until help arrives. Then again, the most creepy thing the elevator sometimes does is bring the guests all the way down to the basement and refuse to go back up. That's where the morgue and crematorium used to be, where hundreds of people underwent autopsies and were embalmed. Today, only employees of the hotel go to the basement, and they're not too happy about it. While working as quickly as possible down there, they've reported weird happenings like seeing glowing orbs and hearing disembodied voices. They've also reported that the air down there has a heavy feel to it, and there's a lingering stench that is most likely from the crematorium. The Emily Morgan Hotel is situated overlooking one of the most haunted places in Texas, the Alamo. More than 600 soldiers lost their lives in that battle, including Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett. Afterwards, General Santa Anna ordered their bodies to be piled up and burned right below Emily Morgan. Some have said you can sometimes catch a glimpse of a long-dead soldier when looking out of your hotel room. With its unique history and where it's built, it's no wonder the Emily Morgan Hotel is one of the most haunted hotels in Texas. In 2015, USA Today listed the Emily Morgan Hotel as the third most haunted hotel in the world. So with that, if you ever visit the Emily Morgan Hotel, I hope you enjoy your stay. It was the summer of 1989 in Michigan when 27-year-old Scott Mailer brought his girlfriend Maggie Connor, also 27, to the Lakeside Inn in Mackinac Island. The atmosphere was filled with vibrant life and happiness. The weather was perfect. However, the lake still had a winter chill that made the water very cold, but it didn't stop swimmers from going in the water. Scott and Maggie were both real estate agents and been dating for over 3 years. Scott brought Maggie up to Mackinac Island at the perfect time because he knew that Maggie's favorite flowers would be in full bloom. Maggie loved lilacs, and because there would be an abundance of lilacs on the island, he would propose marriage to her there. At the inn now, they checked into room 237 and got settled in for the weekend. It was early, so they decided to walk around a bit and check out some of the shops and possible tours they might take. Hand in hand, they walked, a young couple in love. They decided to stop for dinner at Horn's Gaslight Bar and Restaurant. It seemed like a fun place for a good meal and some lively entertainment. The next evening, the big evening, would be dinner at the Carriage House Restaurant. It was all set up. Scott reserved a table next to the window so they could watch the sunset, which was when Scott would pop the question. Champagne would be ready to go. Maggie's favorite wine was on the menu, and he knew they were going to enjoy delicious foods and delectable desserts. The evening was going to be perfect. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly, so they put on their swimsuits. Maggie threw a summer dress over her bikini while Scott pulled a t-shirt on. They ventured out to a local cafe for coffee and breakfast. Then they went to Dowd's Market and Deli for some provisions to bring to the beach. Down at the water's edge, they splashed around for a bit. Maggie was not going to go in that water. It was just too cold for her. Scott, on the other hand, felt it was refreshing, so he decided to take a short swim while Maggie prepped lunch for them. He gave her a quick kiss, then ran into the water and dove in. Maggie opened up a bottle of wine and laid out a charcuterie board. She poured wine in both disposable wine glasses and looked to the water for Scott. There he was, deep in the lake, waving at her. She waved back just before he went under. Maggie watched for Scott to emerge from the water, but he didn't. When it hit her, Scott wasn't coming out. She freaked out. She got help for Scott, but it was too late. Scott's body was pulled from the water. The freezing cold water caused him to cramp up, making him unable to swim. Maggie went back to their room devastated. Packing everything, she found the engagement ring and the set of arrangements for the Carriage House Restaurant. This just broke her heart further. She cried for him as she held his suit in her arms. Maggie left the island heartbroken. As time passed, there have been visitors that have stayed in room 237 and have reported the scent of lilacs. They've seen an apparition of a man walk through the front door and wall. Some have reported seeing a man at the water's edge. They blink and he's gone. One woman reported waking up to a man leaning over her, looking at her with kind eyes. Other women have reported feeling their hair touched. With all of the reports that have come in, no one has reported feeling threatened or scared. Some have felt a sense of sadness and at times a sense of anticipation. So is it Scott still waiting to propose to Maggie, you think? So what did you think about this video? Did you figure out which story was a work of fiction? If you guessed Scott and Maggie, you'd be correct because they are characters that I created when writing my story for this video. So before we go, be sure to check out some more of my other videos for some more scary entertainment. And also be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons, leave me a message or a comment down below, and prepare for more tales of terror delivered to you weekly at 3 a.m. So until next time, stay safe and stay scary.